My name is Daniel Badillo. I'm from a small town, Cerritos. It's a suburb of Los Angeles, California. And I decided I wanted to be a park ranger. I've been wrestling with that career choice for quite some time. I knew I wanted to be in law enforcement ever since this one time when I was working as a summer camp counselor for the city of Cerritos. It was just a summer day camp. Their kids would come and we'd have games, we'd have arts and crafts, and all around just provide, an environment at a park for these kids to enjoy themselves. I remember this one time in particular. There was this one kid who was constantly defiant. He would argue with staff. He never got along with kids. And a lot of the staff just eventually just pushed it aside. They said he's just the problem kid. He's the type of kid who is going to do bad for this for the summer camp, and he doesn't. And we'll just make sure that the rest of the kids are enjoying themselves. I was, just starting college at the time with a criminal justice major, and I was taking some psychology classes. Not to say that I'm, professional in that or anything, but I began maybe what's wrong with this kid? What's going on in his life? So this one time we're doing morning stretches, and I went to this guy, and I talked to him, and he was telling me about his problems at home. He was telling me about his problems with his family. His parents were going through a divorce. They weren't giving him the attention that he needed. And so he was acting out at the camp. My parents were going something similar a few years before this incident. And so I told him I understood what he was going through, and that if he needed anyone to talk about it, that I was here. So we started talking every morning during stretches, sometimes about the divorce, sometimes, about video games, sometimes just about his day. I would hang out with him during lunch. We would play games, and over time, I saw his mannerisms and his overall personality change. He became more responsive to the staff. He began developing friendships within the summer camp. And I realized that I helped this kid. And I was able to do that with my position as a public servant. Granted, I was just, I was just a city staff at the time, but I was still able to make a difference. One thing that I was having trouble with is this kid's parents, they were able to pay for this program. They were able to pay for him to come to the summer camp and for him to enjoy his summer. But there are other kids out there who aren't able to afford to go to a summer camp. There are other kids out there who are still undergoing these same problems at home, and they need help, but they're not able to maybe pay for the summer camp that I went to, or even know that there's services out there. And I felt like, as a position in law enforcement, whether it be municipal or such as I'm doing right now out in the field as a park ranger, I'd be able to reach these kids, reach these adults, reach anyone out there who needs help. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. And being in law enforcement, being able to reach out to those invisible people that we don't see in our daily lives, who don't understand that they need help, who don't understand that these services exist, is the reason I wanted to do it. So I began pursuing a career in law enforcement. I started working in public safety as a public safety officer for the city of La Mirada. I would do routine calls and help people out. I would patrol parks, do relatively the same work that I did as a camp counselor, but instead I was wearing a uniform. I would go to schools and talk about drug awareness, about cyberbullying, about conflict resolution, and overall it was really bland subjects. For the most part, the kids saw it as a way for them to escape the routine education that they were getting. They were super stoked to watch movies instead of having to listen to their same teacher over and over again. And for me, it wasn't about the message that I was trying to come across. It wasn't about the content. It was about providing a friendly face in law enforcement that these kids can see. Sometimes, once the class was over, they were excited, they ran out to lunch. But other times, some of the messages that I brought across, some of the stories that I shared with them would touch them, and they would come over to me and tell me about their problems at home, their problems with friends, and I'd be able to help them. And it just solidified that this is what I want to do. I ended up finishing up that career and realizing that municipal work wasn't for me. Prior to me becoming a public safety officer, I was a Boy Scout with the Boy Scouts of America. And we would go on hikes, and we would be in the outdoors, and we would go camping, and it's something that was always my passion, always to be outside. And I realized that I could do both. I could be a cop, I could be a police officer and help people still. But I could also be somewhere where I'm passionate about in the outdoors and work for the National Park Service, whose job it is to protect these national treasures, whether it be national parks, national battlefields, or national monuments, so people can come there in a safe environment and see what this nation has to offer. So I signed up, I began Googling and looking for colleges or park law enforcement academies. And there was one in Colorado that I was thinking about. There was one in Santa Rosa, and there was one here at Skagit Valley College. I began searching, trying to find out information about all these colleges, information about pricing, because it's a commitment to come to one of these academies. Both financially, most of the time it's on your own dime, but if it's something you want to do, you'll do the commitment. So I emailed all of the academies, trying to see what they had to offer, what kind of extracurriculars they had to make me a better park ranger so I can better serve not only the National Park Service but also the constituents that I would be interacting with at my job. And Commander Lieutenant immediately responded within 10 to 15 minutes. Not only did they respond, but they responded with excitement that I was willing to come to their academy, willing to provide myself as a cadet. Lieutenant even sent a smiley face with her email. And it was that level of personal connection that I felt with this academy that solidified my decision to come here, to Skagit Valley College, to work in the Parks Law Enforcement Academy. That level of personal connection where oftentimes our commander would be busy. He would have other things to do aside from the academy. But everyone's busy, but he would take the time out of his day, whether it be a phone call, whether it be a text, whether it be an email, or he would come immediately down and talk to you, face to face, about anything. Problems with finances, struggling with the academy, personal fitness, and make sure that he was able to tailor your experience so you become the best park ranger you can be. And that level of personal connection is something that I just didn't get from the other academies. I'm finishing up my academy now. It's about week 16, so I have 1 week left. And I'll become a park ranger with Kings Canyon Sequoia National Park. And I can say that with my training that I received from the outstanding instructors here, as well as the camaraderie that I've experienced with the cadets, with my friends, as well as the leadership from commander and lieutenant, I'm prepared to do this job, and I wouldn't have gone to any other academy.